Welcome back. My name is John Clark. My second writing rule is know your audience. Let me explain. When a client asks me to write a speech for him or her, I always begin with the same question. Who is your audience? Simply put, a speaker needs to know who he will be addressing, and the answer to that question should shape your words. You may not have ever thought about this, but knowing your audience is crucial for term papers too. Who are you writing this paper for? Well, the answer is not as obvious as it seems. Sure, on a real-life practical level, your audience is your teacher. After all, he or she is the only person grading the paper. But while that's true, you should write for who is termed the intelligent layperson. Keeping this person in mind is super important and massively helpful as you write persuasive essays and research papers. I want you to imagine that your audience, your reader, is someone who has 4 qualities. He is relatively intelligent. He is unbiased about the topic. He is generally unfamiliar with the topic. He respects you and your opinion. Let's talk a little about these 4 qualities. A, relatively intelligent. If you assume your reader is unintelligent, you will insult him. Don't do that. You'll end up explaining things that really don't need explanation. But if you assume he is exceedingly brilliant, you will assume too much and leave out critical details that should be in the paper. If it helps to imagine a real person, write from me. Be unbiased. Imagine that you're writing for someone who has an open mind about a topic. You're trying to persuade her to arrive at your position. Rhetoric can be defined as the art of persuasion, and this is what you're doing. Don't assume she is on your side or against you. Assume she's in the middle, and this is your chance to persuade her with good arguments and explanations. C, generally unfamiliar with the topic. Let's say you're given the assignment of explaining why Roe versus Wade was a bad case decision. While many Americans have certainly heard about the decision, very few people have actually read the case. So you should assume that your reader basically knows what the Constitution is and knows that the Supreme Court is the highest court in America, but he's generally unfamiliar with the actual case. Write for him. D, he respects you and your opinion. Have you ever read an article by a writer who clearly assumes animosity on the part of some of his readers? I have. It's dreadful writing. It's the sort of terribly unpleasant writing that shows up in comm boxes in America. You must imagine that your reader respects you. You might think this is a small point. It isn't. It's vital. If you imagine that the reader respects you, your writing will be better. Period. If you imagine that your reader respects you, a funny thing happens. You will respect him, and you'll write like it. Which is to say, you'll write better. One last point. It's much less intimidating to write for the intelligent layperson rather than your teacher. Why? Well, imagine that your assignment is to write about the Greek concept of the heroic warrior as illustrated in Homer's Odyssey. A lot of students agonize over this sort of paper, continuing to come back to the same basic question. How can I write something new and fresh about this topic? Something that my teacher has never considered before. How can I impress my teacher? Let's be honest, that'd be pretty tough. I have a friend who is a college literature professor. He's read the Odyssey at least 30 times. It can be intimidating to write for someone like that, and he's a really nice guy. But let me reiterate, you're not writing the paper for him. You are writing the paper for our new friend, the intelligent layperson. And by the way, if you can write a solid paper for the intelligent layperson, your teacher will be impressed. And very likely, you'll get an A. Now let's go to lesson 3.